does not die. And that dialogue, that single dialogue was enough. That dialogue clicked the intellect or the mind where, Parvati?
I can't differentiate, but
All right,
yeah, it
okay.
has.
Because of that question, it does not mean that you have to divide it. You can say both also.
Yeah. No,
Okay, if you
it
say
is all
both,
one, I think.
pardon me?
It's all one. It is the creature.
That's okay, that's clear, Parvati. But for the sake of analytical exercise, if you apply a differentiation, what would you say?
Yeah, it is mind and even the intellect also.
Which way it has affected the mind?
Mind, because it has generated some new thoughts. It
Mm-mm.
has brought in some new
New
connections.
thoughts are by intellect. Intellect meaning attention, perception, cognition, thinking, reflection, languagifying or conceptualization, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so then first intellect and then the mind.
Or first mind and then the intellect. If you
First,
remember what I explained in the
yeah.
contest,
So it has affected. It has definitely brought in new perspectives,
that of
new
course.
way of thinking, new channels think, um, and has um brought in new awareness.
That is all consequences. But that arrow of the master samurai hit which part of the target? Whether the
Mind,
mind, eh?
mind.
Yeah. If I say, of course, can you explain it? Yes, it affected the mind. Why? How?
Um, because they were, yeah, it the, sp- the first the referent of spirit itself took some new thoughts in the mind,
Yeah,
and
thoughts. Okay, okay, okay. Generation of thoughts.
I could
All right. Okay,
feel
go on,
that,
go on. Huh.
and I could feel that in a matter of seconds
Okay,
I
all
could
right. Okay,
communicate
thoughts.
certain
Okay,
things.
thoughts. For example, what all thoughts?
Even so many memories got linked, even the one which Ashwati had told about the spirit of the wheel, everything came to mind, so I cannot tell which all.
No, no, spirit of the wheel and all not relevant here. Do
No,
not
it
go
just
out of the
came that
bound.
all that
Ah,
pictures came, the
ah.
memories, and
Of
then
you.
memories when this word spirit,
I about the memory of you or of the cook.
both. So I'm
No,
saying
no, no. You have to
there
talk
is so
about.
many memories.
No, no, no. You have to talk about the cook.
Okay, so yeah, from a from the parable's perspective also, uh, the cook and certain the first thing was he the referent was he watching the practice from behind. uh, so that was the first thing, even when he is observing 100% and attending to the details, etc. uh, there was a gap I could feel.
All right. Yeah.
And when
All
when
right.
you
Okay. No, no. Do not think that complex. When
okay,
he heard that, what could be his first single sentence of conclusion?
when he heard that spirit of the sword never dies.
When he heard that, what could be his instant conclusion?
True, it cannot die.
Yeah, true. Yes, but they're all right. True. And why? Why he didn't get it? Okay. There was a question arose
Yeah, so
instantly
then
in him. Oh, I did not get
I didn't.
that. That is the possible first reflection. I never thought that. Oh, I see. That was the first possible.
I thought he would have got a guilt pang.
Yeah, that all perhaps we can project. Yeah, quite possibly. Yes, quite possibly. Because why I couldn't get the spirit too? There was something called the spirit of the sword. I didn't get it because I did not
I didn't.
do many other possible guilt feelings and resentments are possible. Definitely, yes. And nevertheless, it was the samurai, the master samurai would try to stimulate or trigger his mind or intellect here. What? Which one?
Intellect first.
Anybody else? Any other answer? Intellect first? By the totality of the situation? Which one?
The
Mind
mind.
first.
Mind.
Why?
So
Because he was
he's
referring to the final intentionality of the sword.
No, no, no. No, no, no. No, no, no.
he's
Yeah,
absolutely in
that,
a
by saying that, Naveen, my question, you said that he was trying to stimulate the mind. Why he thought
Yeah.
of that is the question. Why the master samurai thought of inspiring the mind and not the intellect? Why?
To get connected with the spirit.
No, 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 do not go that level. No, no, no.
Okay, okay.
That's all connected with the spirit, of course. Get connected with the spirit, and he would not imply that. That's all very irrelevant thing there.
Or where he was lacking, to hit at the point where he was lacking.
Yeah, yes. Why? Agreed, agreed. Why? What is the background? Look at the background of that dialogue. Yes. Why do you go to that level? What is the plain, simple answer? Why the master samurai wanted to inspire the mind?
Motivate him.
Oh, do that? Agreed, agreed. Why? No, 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 no,
Was this
no.
the only missing link, sir?
No, no, no. Simple
Only mind
point.
can.
so he's
No,
in a
he was
distress situation.
he was mortified by the thought of death.
That's all very huge answer. No, no, no. You go the simple, plain answer.
So he's absolutely in a distress situation.
Yeah, he was defeated and he had
Defeated,
come.
yeah. Guilty,
No,
defeated.
no, 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 no. Guilt and all, no, not sure. He was right now distressed. That's why he has come back.
Hmm.
Right.
That was the dominating element in his expression.
Yeah.
Plainly, he has come back after that challenge with the shogun, and he felt completely destroyed, and he has come all the way back, completely driven by the mind, with as you said, guilt feeling or resentment or whatsoever. And from there, he had a realization, of course. What was his realization? Come on, can you possibly guess, conceptualize what was his realization? With what resolve he went to his room, whatever. When he left, what was his resolution? Nitya, I think
I'm.
yeah,
So
yeah, come on.
he probably thought about the spirit of his entity.
That is the most likely, of course, because the word
And
spirit.
where
Yeah.
where he has got the finest tuning, that would be doing his Shanoyu.
Yeah, that we cannot say now. That is subsequently, we know the story. He does not know. That also you have to be very careful in analyzing a document. We now know the story. Right now, the story is just at the point where the master said this dialogue and he is walking. That's why referent reality perception, referent perception. Referent is right now, master made that dialogue
Yes.
at the peripheral level. And the cook was trying to feel the referent of what he said. Meaning is very simple. He wouldn't get the spirit of the sword. The meaning, what is the meaning of that sentence? The spirit of the sword does not die. Finish. Yeah. So that's a simple statement. But the referent of that would be perhaps clear to the cook. Only the referent of that statement is connected to his history in the monastery. Only the referent of that statement is connected to his just previous background of interface with the shogun. Only referents are really related and engaged. Not, of course, language may appear related because the language is trying to report a referent.
So only to the cook it will have an impact.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because Cook only had the referent realities relevant to the statement, of course. We are doing a very complex task of projecting and trying to feel and see that situation. Because we are almost walking with the cook. The person. And we are all in our existences. There could be many points of time when we confronted shoguns and defeated and challenged and came back and wanted to run away. Great majority of people are running away from that and to get an escape and they seek their asylums in the monastery, in the ashrams or the temples. Various forms and formations of different types and categories and orbits of shoguns may appear before us. And those shoguns sometimes may challenge you, or you may take up the challenge. And those challenges become very powerfully interpreted by the presence of the others. And that challenge itself happened because the cook wanted to prove before the others. If the others are not there, what samurai, what shogun, nothing. That's why the cook chose precisely that moment. It was for him, it was a very opportune moment. He came across someone who looks like the shogun that he had heard in the descriptions of the master samurai to the disciples. And he wanted to be established as a samurai, and there is very likely a lot of people sitting there. If those people were not there, perhaps Cook would not have done that. So most of our actions and activities are even now controlled by the presence of others. What is the guarantee that it is not? Why the presence of so many unrelated, never to see again kind of, never talked with kind of people are allowed to control the mindsets and the emotions and the feelings and the conclusions and interpretations of one's own existence, which every mediocre person in the world is doing. So see the spirit of the sword, that is you. You know about a sword, how it is kept. It is not a sword. In fact, the sword of a samurai is very different. It takes an average 6 to 7 months by a master craftsman to make a real samurai sword. The master craftsman goes around and picks up the iron ore, chooses the iron ore. Then it is melted with a lot of meditation like a shanayu. Then it is made into the shape of that long sword shape. And then it will be rolled. You know? It is hot, iron is rolled again. And again it will be hammered to the length. Again it will be rolled. And again it will be strengthened. And it is done something like 200, 300 times. Like the human sword is made over a period of 280 days inside the womb. The basic material. How much that sword is sharpened by the environment.
It's 21:45.
How do the parents see a normal child? As a delicate, helpless being. Helpless child. That is the intentionality, that's the direction, that's the energy of attention, what you call, radiated to every child. Except maybe for a child that grows up in a palace as a crown prince. The most critical first ever experience and the feeling and the vague perception that most of the 99% of the children in the world develops is that it is a helpless being. Of course, it is physically delicate, that's all. Okay, after that, what all kinds of swords are sharpened by the very will of the individual? Is there sharpened language? Is there sharpened and clear ways of responding to people? Is there sharpened clarity of how to behave? Is there sharpened clarity, of course, about the way things are done? What is the way of activity of a great majority of people in the world? Very clumsy. What is the sharpening of the ways of relationship? It's all some kind of an approximation. Whoever has approximated reasonably well, that person is feeling good about him. That's all. There is no sharpness at all. Even relationships, because for human beings, relationships are at the top priority. Nevertheless, it exists. Even at the Buddha level, there is a relationship, at least with the disciples. There is no clarity in relationships, very vague. Any relationship can be easily mismanaged by some convenient dialogues. As I told, that I told you before. The entire human history, entire human life is corrupted and corrupted only by language, by nothing else, by external language or internal dialogues, borrowed with its equations from the environment. We don't just borrow languages, we also borrow emotional linkages of those languages also. And we are all just remote controlled by the duplicated, borrowed languages, thinking that it is happening inside. They are all duplicated from the environment. None of them is original. Very much less is the original content. These are the statements I make. It is for you to decide how sharp is your sword of attention, how sharp is your sword of language, how sharp is your relationship with whatever you do. And that's what I want to say in the context of genius in self. Genius in self meaning a sword, a samurai kind of a sword in self and its dimensions. And that would be our intentionality by which we will be moving forward. That's all. All right. So, spirit of the sword would not die. What was the second point, Pavdi? About
Second point was what is the last thing you would like to do?
all right, let it be there. Anybody else has any other points other than these 3 points?
There is also the spirit of the tea. No?
It is mentioned in the parable, the affair.
No.
All right. Yeah, that you can, of course. There cannot be anything in this universe without its spirit, even a subatomic particle. The subatomic particle, Feynman's experiment, Fritjof Capra, Werner Heisenberg, they are all proving that even a subatomic particle is alive. There is nothing dead in this universe. The subatomic particle does nothing else to do. So what it does? Sometimes it transforms itself into a wave. Then after some time it comes back into particle shape. A single thing acting itself.
At the end of the parable, can we come to the conclusion that the spirit of the tea and the spirit of the sword are basically the same?
Why
One
not?
and the same?
Of course. Definitely a wonderful perception. That is very obvious, Veena. That's why the Shogun said, you are a master cook. And before that spirit of the master cook, Shogun and the master cook are identical entities.
But why that thought should come if you are such a great cook, master cook? Why that thought should disturb him?
No,
Whereas
he was
masters
not
are
a he was not a master cook. Until then, he was only a cook. At the behest, at the critical choice point of that moment, then he was named a master cook by the master Shogun only. Till then, even in the parable, you will never see the word master cook to refer to him. And that is the ultimate statement he says. He said it or something like that. It is there in the affair of the parable. That's why I told you, our entire life is that journey. It is not that we reach. That journey towards sharpening the sword is enough. There are great samurais who sharpened their sword every day but never took it out of its cover. Whereas modern human beings, if they do something, they immediately want its results. They will sharpen something, they will read something extra, they will do something extra only if there is a result. Otherwise, they would not do anything. No reading of books, no extra discussions, no extra learning, no extra doing nothing. On one side, one side they would talk about what you call Aham Brahmasmi, and they would claim about 90 billion neurons. These are all now public information. There are 90 billion neurons. Everybody knows that. But they are all victims of the publicly dominant language of the times. They are all living to fulfill that public language, though they are not at all connected with the public. Let them do it. No, we have no problem. I am talking by this, I am indicating the sharpness, the way of the sword of the genius in self. So today, by this parabolic uh, uh, analysis, you must be a little more clear about your spirit and the potential tuning of that spirit with a much higher order spirit of this planet Earth. Okay? And that planet Earth spirit is very much contained inside you too. The required dose is given to you. Because that is the required. Because you are not a physical material like sword. You are the sword and the master samurai at the same time. Like as we discussed in the parable of the sound of the forest, you are the prince, you are the master, and you are the king. And you have to have that basic integrity to contain these three.
So there is also the aspect beyond the mind also you had mentioned about the attendant spirit. So all the events that happened from the beginning of the parable to the end, uh, it is the path that made him then learn in secrecy, then challenge the shogun, and ultimately come to a death point, and again come back, so that he gets the missing element in him. So the attendant spirit is the driving force behind that also. That chooses this path in his destiny.
And that is quite likely. Can you say why it is quite likely? It is not the
So
case with the
that
great majority of normal people, but it is very likely with him. Why?
Because that is the way it happened.
No, no, no. Of course, it happened. Of course. Why it happened that way? Why? Go back to your original point. It was his spirit that decided the path of his existence. Why? Why? How it got connected? Of course, that's all. That's why I also told 2, 3, 4, 5 times before. When you take the choice of at least to inquire about the possibilities and potentialities and the nature of the so-called genius and the genius himself, you have already made the turning point. Now you cannot go back. It is not a physical turning. And the physical, in this realm, physical turning is not possible. It's a, if you use the rough term, it's a psychological turning. It's a turning of your mind and your intellect. And there was the spirit too. Otherwise, there would not be this will happen. It would not happen. This program will not happen.
Master, I have a question. I've been thinking about all this, the whole session. I need to find my Shano you, or in other words, how do I elevate all that I do to that level?
You have this question on one side. At the same time, many a times you are taking your thought process for granted. Evidenced by today's response, you quickly came to a conclusion that he was not motivated. Just never use that bullshit word motivate, okay?
Okay.
Every idiot in the world is using that word motivate. What is motivating? Everybody is trying to motivate others. What is motivation? It is a very rough term. It doesn't mean anything. Because you know all these words, you have a tendency to quickly come into logics. This I have been debating with you for the last 2 years. That is because of your brilliance. That brilliance is your block now. Whatever comes, you have some explanation quickly. That explanation will never take you out of the box of the current situation.
It's 22 hours.
What you said is essentially true. But how can you use the word motivation, etc., in the context of a brilliant Zen parable, Minashi? Understand? Yeah. This is what I talked about orchestra. In an orchestra, every instrument is perfectly tuned. And they have to play that particular pitch, that particular note only and only and only. They cannot use another note. Then that instrument and the player is out. We are talking about the greatest orchestra possible for a human being in the world. A genius himself, I told you, is much greater than even the Vivekanandas and the J. Krishnamurtis and the Ramana Maharshis. Because they are all in their selfish path of enlightenment and they know only about that. They don't have the confidence or they don't have the mindset to work in the field and contribute to the world and they to work for their own eating. Okay? They may be nirvanic fellows, they may be talking to the God. We don't care. We are quite in tune with humanity. We are quite in tune with the responsibility of having this human life on earth, which includes working for our food and contributing whatever we can to the people around or about you. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's all. You have to see. And the entire world is celebrating the J. Krishnamurtis and the Vivekanandas and the Ramana Maharshi. I am telling, each one of you can be greater than them in the point, in the parameter which nobody can deny, I suppose. No, nobody can deny. I don't think even they will deny. They were all kind of professional, what you call, like professional killers. They were professional enlightened people. They knew only about that. And what is their contribution? What is their contribution? A lot of people read their book. I don't see any difference in them. The ethics of the world has gone down and down every day. What is the contribution of the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible and the Quran and all these bloody so-called celebrated gurus? Some groups and communities and missions are there. I know the behavior of some of the top people of Chinmaya Mission here.
Sure.
Ridiculous, arrogant, greedy people. I know what this Jaggi was doing. I know what even Chinmayananda has been doing, who went on interpreting Karmanyeva Adhyarasya Mahaphaleshu Kadachana. What he was insisting every organizer to be arranged whenever he visits a town. So we don't do that double talk. We talk what we do and we do what we talk. That is genius himself. Like a genius in physics or genius in music. That's all. But self is a much, much greater, the ultimate music, ultimate orchestra. That's all. Yeah, what was the question, Meenakshi?
My question was, I need to find my Shano you, and I think I know the answer.
Yeah, whatever you do is almost a Shana only, as I know from your reports. What is the intent of Shanayu? It is not to do what is being visibly done. Through that movement, through that expression of the movement of the live cell assembly, which is we call a human being, some other movement is made on this planet Earth.
Yes.
That is the perspective. See, some movements in the cell assemblies of another creature is affecting some movements in this planet Earth.
Fabulous.
When you have that clarity of that perception, you are that. That's all. That's all. Minashi, you are always trying to know that. Do not do that. You just cannot nor W it. Yeah. That effort to know it will make you all the time little away. It is like taking a plastic ball from a lake with a stick. The moment you touch, it moves away.
Right.
But you have to take the ball with the stick also. For which you don't touch the ball. You just do something on the water. Understand? So that the ball moves towards you. Everybody is trying to meddle up with the ball. And everybody is using the stick of languages to access it, Minashi. You have to use the instrument of your plain creature. That creature which does not talk. That eyes that do not talk. That hands that do not talk. That heart that which do not talk. None of the entities in the universe do this blunder of language. Unfortunately, we have to have that necessary evil. That is why it is a gateless gate. Mandra, ഒരു ഗ്ലാസ് വെള്ളം കൊണ്ടോ? So what was the third point?
You are a master cook.
All right. Yeah. That was the ultimate judgment by the attendant spirit. No, Shogun is a representation, is a symbolic of the attendant spirit that is tuning with the that which is giving you that conviction about whatever you are convinced about. Thank you, Mantra. This is the sharpening of the sword, yes. So how do you interpret that final Shogun statement, Parvati? Do you have an interpretation? Because you identified that, therefore I am asking you, do you have an interpretation of the final judgment by Shogun that you are a master cook? How do you interpret that?
I got a feel that Shogun was clear that he's not a real samurai.
That is the peripheral orbit level. That is the sense of it. How do you interpret that? Like whatever I am doing, basically an interpretation. The entire world is perhaps an interpretation the way we understand it now. All right. How do you interpret? Interpret meaning, how do you see a next level implications of that? Interpret. How do you enter into that statement which you made and see more detailed reference of that?
Um, Maybe Shogun is also indicating um, that the cook also reached that point of master cook now, and letting him live that awareness.
Yeah, that even that sentence too is a further explanation of what you said. Interpretation meaning using that as the first observation, you will go to a next level. Like how did I interpret the concept of sword to the sword of the being that you is?
Yeah, like what Veena suggested, the master cook, spirit of the master cook and the Shogun are one.
Yeah, that was an interpretation. Similarly, what interpretation you would like to make, if you make?
Now, you are the master cook means you are in tune with yourself. That means
Yeah, wait. There is the point. Yeah, come on. That means, okay, don't say that means. Okay, come on. It doesn't mean anything. It is interpreted. Okay, all right.
you are in tune with yourself. thereby with the universe.
Yeah, that is one. Now, right now, you are in tune with the you. All right.
Yes.
And thereby, okay, all right, that you can go. But naturally, when you are in tune with you, who is this so called you? It is an integral part of the universe only, not the self of the you, not the normal self, I mean. That you, let us forget about the you, that creature. 100% of that creature is a 100% integral part of this planet Earth. Only that, even that consciousness is driven by the engines of that creature. But the ridiculous contents of that consciousness only are the corrupt. That only rapes the integrity of that creature. Of course, when you are in tuning with your creature, you are in tuning with the universe, the planet Earth, no doubt. The five elements, whatever, let it be whatsoever. Because you are tuning with you and the tuning with the planet Earth or universe or world or whatsoever, they are identical. Because you did not create you, your parents did not create you. It is a creature 100%, like the cat and the bird and the plant. It's an integral part of this planet Earth. That's all, finished. Beyond that, nothing is possible. So long as it is in the frame of this entity, beyond that, nothing else is possible. Nothing else is required also. And then something else is possible maybe at the moment of death. Till then, nothing else is possible beyond that. All right. So there is another much little lower level of interpretation also, Bharati. You have gone straight to the highest interpretation. Which lower level interpretation is that social self, the you as a cook, your practice, your enterprise for existence as a cook. That's what you have been doing. That is what you have been a master in. Hmm? And perhaps you never felt a master in that, masterly in that correct, complete fulfillment of feeling one with that act and feeling by that act you did not come into tuning with that entity of you.
Mhm.
It's 22:50.
Now you have achieved it. Why now? Can you say why now?
Because that was a for him it was a last
F-
opportunity,
uh,
and then he used
yeah,
all his engines to
yeah,
do it.
exactly. That's what I asked you sometime back. If you look at your hands, the last time you see them, how would you look at it? If you look at the world, the last time, how would you see the world? What will you see in the world? And at that time, that is the greatest event. That is the greatest act. You don't have to consciously do it. It will automatically, all the gears will come into perfect synchronicity. That should be your every act. Why not? That's what I am constantly telling to Mantra and Amaya here also. When you do it as a last act, Parvati, is there any difference in the water you take, in the tea powder you add, in the cooking you do? No. Where is the difference?
I think I think there will be a difference because especially um, when you have a body ailment, you will understand the minutest changes happening to that part of your body. But you may not be aware of the rest of your body as much as you are aware of this part.
That's what I asked. I said this only. I said the things done are all the same, but where, that's why I asked where is the difference. I asked where is the difference.
Difference is in the mind and focus and
Ah,
attention.
yeah, it is within the entity only. So why not you have that so-called difference in whatever you do every day? Why not? That is not possible because of the familiarity trap.
Familiarity.
And that is not that easy also, because that's why the ancient mystics and the seers wanted to live in forest where everything is unpredictable. But here, but still, many times Minashi has reported me, I think Minashi is almost at that level only in her daily cooking, daily washing the plates, everything. She is almost like that. It doesn't need any extra effort or anything like that. But you may forget. But there'll be little changes here, but because a lot of people are careless in washing the plates, careless in cooking, careless in many normal day-to-day activities. A lot of people, of course, careless in this sense. They just do it. Apparently, peripherally, it's all okay. It is like most of the people driving. I am a master driver, but every moment I can feel every part of the engine. That's definitely possible. I talk to people, I do everything, but by 100% attention, attentionful driving. I told you to drive, no, you don't need any attention. It will automatically happen. Of course, there is a minimum attention road, etc., 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 but it automatically happens mostly. But I make every turn. I can feel my hand on the steering every moment. But why I said this is, it is not an impossible task. That is to be there. Why not? It is the same. It is the case with every cat and every bird, my dear friends. Try that for a few days. Then you will enjoy. Then you will feel a kind of a. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. It's a kind of a power. Nothing can sort of defeat you. Nobody can bloody fool around you. That's all. They may go and do something else somewhere, but it will not touch you. That's all. Very simple. One day when Suresh was here, we went for a first show and we came back by about 9:30, opened the doors, front door, Suresh was having a cigarette in the front door. I went to the kitchen and then I saw a huge sound of breaking something. Then I realized it was an elephant. So there was a plastic water tank, elephant broke its cover and I saw through the window it was trying to drink the water. I just opened the door and the door and the elephant is less than 4 feet. And the elephant looked at me and walked away. It came all the way to drink the water only. Standing at the end of the other room, Suresh was shivering. He could not even keep the what you call smartphone to take a photo. I told him take the video, but he could not hold the camera. I mean the cell phone. And he has gone for so many trips. He has gone for Himalayan walk, what you call, uh, all kinds of expeditions. He has traveled to various parts of the country. He was there in US exactly when that what you call Twin Tower was destroyed. He saw that with his eyes. He was just about 1 or 2 kilometers. He witnessed even that. But that he witnessed because there is no way. But here, when the elephant is there, he was swearing. It is
Sir,
not that
just a
you're
doubt,
not
sir.
afraid.
Is there a connection between all this, sir? So now you're saying that Suresh has experienced all this. So, and in spite of seeing all this, you're saying that Suresh is shivering when he saw the elephant. So you're trying, so the discussion is, in spite of his mind getting matured on all these topics, again, when the elephant is coming, he is getting afraid, or what is the point that we're trying to make, sir?
Because the mind and the body, they're all not tuned. This was a discussion which I have done with some other group. This experience and all doesn't matter much, Ramesh. If experience added on to somebody, every manager with 10 years experience would be equally good as a general manager. All right? A teacher teaching for 25 years must be a super master genius teacher. No. But you can see a teacher just 3 months and she's a wonderful teacher. She just develops all the things within first class itself. So whether he has traveled all over the world, he lived in New Zealand for about 3 years, then in Australia for about 3 years, then in US for about 4 years. He traveled to many other parts of the country. He was already the vice president of Accenture, one unit. So that's what we call that sharpness of the sword. When that sharpness of the sword achieved, your spirit should be intact. That's what I said. There should not be any corruption. There should not be when the spirit is corrupt, there is an element of fear happening, Ramesh. Because every entity has that what you call in Sanskrit that andhakaran. That andhakaran knows. I may commit a wrong, so-called wrong thing. Nobody else in the world would know. But this andhakaran knows it. All right? There itself is the disparity. This is what I said some time back, what Abraham Maslow calls the innocence. That innocence is not in being very humble or gentle or anything like that. Like Lao Tzu said, the greatest innocence would look like crookedness. It is for one soul. Why? Everybody knows. But what happens, Ramesh? Nobody does this introspection, Very rarely. When you do that, when everybody, they just not spend their time alone. Whenever they're alone, they will either watch the TV or go to the internet or listen to some music or read something. Just reflecting, sitting alone, it is not easy for everybody. Because as soon as you sit, after some time, the thought process, the running thought process, it will go and go and go and go, and after some time, it will start rebounding like a boomerang. Then there will be a feeling of discomfort. Because there are many sort of pretensions, many sort of cheating somebody. Cheating meaning not cheating financially, talking something and doing something else. A lot of anomalies, lot of discordant knots. Like in a vehicle, every nut and bolt should be in proper order, Ramesh. It is as simple as that. Here it is not visible. Nobody knows. A lot of people are happy because nobody knows, so it is okay. But I know, that knowledge has its anxiety and tension, the discordance in the autonomic nervous system. Like as you see in lie detector, what lie detector says, it does not say it is a lie. But the investigating officer or the one who is efficient, when he say a lie, there is when with the most efficient liar, there will be a slight fluctuation in the curve. Where represented on the electrical potential of the skin, Ramesh. Forget about the central nervous system. So the Antakarana is that's the greatest principle by Jesus, You just forgive. That is the greatest punishment, actually speaking. If you punish, the equation gets resolved. And someone meets you, someone hits you on the right cheek, show the other cheek. What a wonder. If you do that, the other guy will immediately fall down unconscious. I have just exaggerated. That is the greatest hit, in fact. So everyone who is untruthful in relationships, biased and covering in relationships, uh, uh, and all, they know what the doer knows exactly when they are making a wrong turn. The other person may not know. And there could be all kinds of logics, because nobody can tolerate guilt feeling, because it is against the pressure principle, it is against the fulcrum of the entity itself. So they will create all kinds of logic to explain away. I did this because of that. Okay. But at the root of the heart, we don't know. Maybe true. We don't know. That person knows. That's all I said. So when there was an act, like that act of nature process, an original act, that's what we call an original act. Like the original human being is doing something, that original uncorrupt human being is talking or doing, then he has mastered whatever. And only a master can identify another master, of course. So these are the three critical aspects. And all the three were to the mind, because mind is the central factor. I told you the primacy and primariness of the mind. Even for the intellect to work, as I told you, inspiration by the mind only. 99% of perspiration, of course, done by various engines of the intellect. Your thinking, your reflection, your experiment, your working out, your reading or your writing, and etc. Because mind only is energy, emotive. It is emotive, emotive. It is basically analytical. It is an analytic engine provided by the nature process forces for survival. And mind only has intentionality. And to these powerful minds, just to see, Ramesh, all kinds of anomalous data are given by the environment. See, that is why human beings are all in trouble. If a wrong data is given to the intellect, it will process it, and if it is not essential, it will just push it away. But wrong data is given to the mind. It is almost everlasting. If wrong data is processed, it gets really damaged. Damaged meaning it becomes more and more expanded in a negative way, sort of. That is why the concept of satsanga of the past, So that's all the master cook and the mind. And next time you have to really try your Socratic questioning to the parable. Socratic questioning meaning, as I told you, you see the reference of the events and the episodes and the interfaces that are recorded in the FIR of the parable. If I look at the parable as an FIR, like an investigating officer, then only you can ask Socratic questions. Okay.
Can I make a statement, sir?
Huh?
Can I make a statement, sir?
Why not, please?
Yeah, I was actually in wonder of how the parable can be looked at from so many different vantage points.
Yeah.
It's almost like the sword itself. You thrust, you parry, so many motions can be made. So Master
Yeah.
Samurai, you're playing with it in many ways.
Exactly. The parable itself is like a sword, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Of course. The parable itself is a sword which can cut across the blocks and the boundaries of your existing logic of understanding the world, yes, and understanding the self. That's why this parable, this is Zen parable. This was used in the ancient Zen monasteries, Tintin, to resolve the ultimate puzzle of self-realization. Yeah. It is not an ordinary document. I would say it is a much, much greater document than the Upanishads. Upanishads are straight away talking some universal truths. This is enabling the engines of the disciples to discover those truths by themselves. That is the essential thing. Reading the Upanishads, meditating on the Upanishads and all that, it won't work. Because it is somebody else's knowledge. You have to negotiate the understanding of that. In Zen monasteries, no direct teaching. You go and meditate upon this parable and you will come across. If you come across, okay, it is good for you. If you do not come across, if you have some questions, come and ask me, I will tell you. And you go and you do the search and you discover because that is within you. You cannot discover what Buddha discovered, okay? How do you know? How do you know what Ramana Maharshi discovered? He is using some language. How do you know the referent of whatever he said as language? Of course, that's what perhaps some of them may be trying. But most of them are after the words and languages, interpretations and interpretations. I told you, I am that. 500-page book. What is that? I am that means I am that. That's all. What is there to be written about I am that 500 pages? It is not possible because it's all blocked, When you say you are part of the God, that single sentence is enough, finished. But human beings are not able to believe it. They are not able to see. That's all. Because it is told in a sentence. And unfortunately, that sentence is required also. What to do? That's why the gateless gate. You have to use the sentence, but you have to get out of the sentence. Using that sentence and its 10,000 lines of interpretation, nobody can cut across. Nobody can. Because every new understanding becomes a new block. A new touch of the plastic ball. No touch on the plastic ball. That's why there was a great writer called Hermann Hesse. I think so. He has written a book. The title of the book is If You See the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him. Now, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. That's the title of the book. Because Buddha is the greatest block against Buddhahood. We can see in the Tibets and other relevant areas, almost thousands of so-called Buddhists, dressing like whatever is Buddha and all the time. I don't know what all poor people. Okay, they're all very genuine, but they will be doing that their entire life. That's all. They will never become Buddhas. So you should have that kind of a clarity and quickness. When you think that you are a part of the universe, instantly you have to be completely like a fire on the hand. You are instantly convinced about the heat of that. You have to cut across and make a quick jump into that. Don't try to have a resolution and understand that. Just take it and stop. Full stop. That's all. Finished. Mandra? Mandra? So, all right then. So, go deep and see the reference and the referent realities of the parable and find out some investigative questions. If that is the affair, what are your questions to the questions? Not to arrest anybody, but there are certain things that you have to find out. That you will know when you are able to see the referent of the events and episodes or the details of the parable. Unless you see the referent, you will not get that questions. All right. Okay, bye.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye, sir.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Good night all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye.
Great.